Okay, we're live. Welcome to How to Build Your Own Home every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We have an awesome realtor here with 20 plus years of experience and a builder with about the same number of years experience. So altogether, we're 40 years old. We do this every Thursday. We're happy to do that. I'm going to jump right into some questions here. I do have some thoughts on my mind, but I really want to get going with some questions here because last week we ran out of time. We went like a few minutes past 6 o'clock and we still had questions. We didn't get to them all. So I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. This is from a student. I promised I'd give this one first so that she can come to the live chat and listen to it. This is from KK, Cam, and the last name's with a K too. So we're both KK. That's pretty cool. Hi, Keith. Thank you for all the course material and the videos you do for all your students. I bought a piece of land about 35 minutes from my current home. I would like this house to be a rental or spec home for myself. It is about 1/4 mile from the lake and it is in a quiet neighborhood. I've run into a conundrum and I can't seem to find a good answer. The structural engineer said the footer for the house is 18 inches wide times 14 inches high, and the stem wall will be another 10 inches tall at the back of the house, making the stem wall at the front of the house to be 4 feet tall. I did geotechnical survey and looks like I have solid limestone on which I need to build. Can I pour a footer directly on the limestone? I can't excavate the limestone as this would be too expensive. Any thoughts on how I should go about doing this? Thank you for your answer. This is Craig. I guess his wife's name is with the K, Cam, Craig and Cam. It depends on making sure you have your frost depth. I don't know where you're building, but I'm assuming with the stem wall, you will have a frost depth, but I'm not for certain. I don't know. I'm just making a guess on that. So given the fact that you only have 10 inches tall of a stem wall, I'm reading that 10 inches. I didn't see 10 feet. It says inches. And so then it's 18 inches wide and 14 inches high. That's your footing. So only another 10 inches would give you a total of 24 inches in height on your stem wall. So I'm not assuming that you have a frost depth. I have a frost depth of 36 inches. Right there, you've only got 24 inches. So you're probably in the Midwest, somewhere south, I'm guessing. But limestone is super, super solid stuff. The pyramid is built on limestone. So you want to just double check with your geotech engineer. And if you have the elevation is just right. You do not want to have to dig into that limestone. You do not want to have to hammer that out. You want to be able to build on top of that. And if they did any core samples, usually with a situation like that, they can't do a backhoe 12-foot sample. They come with a drill and then they will drill down to see how far down that the strata is. And if you've got 10, 15, 20 feet plus of nothing but limestone, that's going to be pretty solid. It's not going to go anywhere. So just double check with your geotech engineer. Your report should indicate how to ameliorate the topsoil. And when you do get down to that base bed, they call it bedrock, then you should be able to build right on top of that. But double check with your geotech engineer. And again, it's if you have a frost depth, that frost depth it's probably really shallow. I'm assuming you're probably in the panhandle of Florida, or you're in Georgia somewhere south like that. Because if you were further north, I know that frost depth would be 30, 32 inches, as high as 42 inches way up in Maine. So that's the only worry I have is on that frost depth. So I hope that answers your question, Cam. Again, that was from Cam, KK. All right, thank you for that. Let's jump into some questions real quick, and I do have some stuff on my mind. I may just wait till the very end to do that.
We have a celebration.
Okay, Canning, is that C Manning 3? Hi, student here, closed not alone, and we'll be getting our permits next week, building Ogden, Utah. Now, you've got a very a cold frost depth up there. Modified sunset plan. Thanks for all you do. Very great. That's awesome. All right.
So modified sunset plan, that means they got the plan off of our howtobuildyourownhome.com,
Yeah.
our sunset plan. That's
Yeah.
a really good floor plan. That should be fun. I want to see pictures.
Yeah, send us some pictures and watch the video on that one because it gives you some different options we threw into that plan. The back stairs that go in the back stairs of that plan, because it was such a very good starter home. I wanted to create nooks and crannies, so I did that. They had 4 kids on that home, and so the kids use that now to read and hide out. It's their little private spot.
And a wheelchair too.
Yep, and a wheelchair. And then the upstairs is really nice because it does have a bathroom for the bedrooms to share, and then the mechanical is all put upstairs. And it's just watch that video, and you'll be heads and shoulders above most people in preparation for building a great home. Okay.
Here we go. Here's a question.
Is zip sheeting worth it versus OSB, or should invest more somewhere else for my house build? Invest somewhere else, and I'm going to tell you why. I am a guy. Have you ever been to a very high-end restaurant? My wife and I will know this. We went to a restaurant down in town a couple of years ago, and there was this thing I ordered, and it was called pork and rind. Okay, pork and rind, and the rind was watermelon, and it was like $36 for a plate. Okay, and it came with 4 pieces of pork and a couple of pieces of watermelon. I've never walked out of a restaurant feeling so unsatisfied that I made it known to the host that I felt unsatisfied, and we went and had dinner somewhere else. We went out twice that night. So what I'm saying here is
$65 and we were hungry.
It was terrible. So what I'm saying here is if you look at the zip sheeting, you're getting a very small coating, okay, on the outside of what's typically OSB sheeting. That's all it is, a very thin coating. And for what value is that going to give you? You could put on regular OSB, put a nice synthetic on there, like most people put on there, and then put a thick layer of mineral wool. Could be 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches, whatever you can afford. That's going to soundproof your home. It's going to give you a higher R value. It's going to give you a fire rating that's superior to anything else that's out there. I could go on and on. So I go for something with more meat. And I wish that dinner I had more meat on it, but it didn't. So too often we hype something in technology, but if you look at it, it doesn't add structural strength. It doesn't add soundproofing. It doesn't add fire. You start adding all the things, and the zip sheeting does nothing. All it does is seal off your home. Well, if you know me, I don't like to seal off my home. I like my home to breathe. Every industry, every building that I've ever studied over time, the ones that last are the ones that allow for some breathing to take place in that home. Why take a risk and have makeup air and have all these different systems, electronic systems to keep air movement in the home? So I put it in meat, and meat to me is thicker blanket, beefier walls, a better technology overall, not just something with a coating on the outside of your sheeting. I mean, I hope I could go on and on about this, but you get my point. Don't go to something that's just, I'm still hungry. You know?
Okay, here we go. Here's another
I'm glad
one.
I'm starting with questions right now because they're coming on real quick here. This is from Heck 37, living currently in New York, but bought land and looking to build in Timberlake, North Carolina. Because I'm on a watershed area, I could only clear ½ acre. Guy is charging me $20K to clear and haul away. Thoughts? And he said ½ acre. Wow, ½ acre is about, I know exactly how big that is. It depends on how big the growth is. So if you have growth that's like this, a foot or 2 foot in diameter, I could see that. But if your growths, tree growths, or maybe like that round, that could be a little cheaper. But the real problem is the root structure. You have to have all that root structure removed in order to build something. And when he clears that, he has to clear out the stumps. Double check on that. I've seen guys just come and clear it and say that they're all done, but you've got all that organic matter in the ground that you've got to pull out So you have to get to the native soil so then you can build on. This lot next door, I wish I could show you. We took out all the trees here, and I told to help save her some money. Don't pull out the stumps. I want them to rot for a couple of months, and they did, and they were easy to pull right out. And some of them are already gone, and so I left it cut up about 1.5 feet. And this is something to think about. You want to find out that estimate. Look at the estimate. Does it include removing of the stumps? And if it does, that's actually not a bad deal, depending on how much is there. If I saw a picture of it, that would be great. Contact me through the online course How to Build Your Own Home, and then I'll exchange my email with you, and then you can send me a picture of it, and then send me the actual estimate, because that's a quick one for me to say, wait a minute, that's kind of pricey. But to me personally, I just go rent a mulcher, get a couple of chainsaws, and have fun with the family. That's just me. And for 20 grand, you can buy yourself a mulcher, because it looks like you're going to have to need a mulcher anyway. And there's a business where you can rent it out. There's online sources out there where you can actually have equipment and then rent it out and then make some little money. There might be a side hustle there. I could talk forever on that subject.
He is in New York. So he's not close. So that would take time.
Yeah, but I know there's a lot of trees in North Carolina. A lot of trees in North Carolina. So,
okay, here we go.
Okay, hi Keith and Melissa. Just wondering if all new house builds would benefit from putting the insulation on the outside. Also, what about rain screens, or are these items only for certain builds? Texas. The new IRC, International Residential Code, is now asking for a thermal blanket on the outside of the home, mainly for energy efficiency. There's a big push with the federal government and other sources to push for higher energy efficiency. If you can think about it, we've come a long way. Back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, we were building all homes with 2x4s, all of them. So you had 3.5 inches. And that we quickly got away from that and went to 5.5, which is a 2x6, roughly 6 inches, close to that, with the sheeting, and then all that additional R value inside the home. Now they're asking for a thermal blanket. And I've actually moved in that direction. All the homes, about 70% of the homes, are adding a thermal blanket on the outside of the home. And so you want to check with your local building official and ask them, are you asking for the additional upgrade in the IRC? And if they are, what is the requirement? And it could be an inch of something. It could be polyiso foam, rigid foam, not my favorite. It could be rigid mineral wool. It could be some other products that are out there. But check them out and find out what your local building is asking for. New house, but it would benefit from putting insulation on the outside. It would, but you're in Texas, okay? Now, I don't know what part of Texas, but you do have those really nasty cold blasts that come down. And what I'd be worried about is if you do a slab on grade, try not to have the pipes come to the very outside of the slab or to the outside of the wall. If you have that additional insulation, it's going to help. But if you have a kitchen sink on the north side of your home, that could get a cold, nasty freeze, and you could have a freezing right there. If you're not too worried about that. But if you are in a part of Texas where you don't get that kind of a weather, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. But you can get some really remember those cold spells that hit Texas and it froze everything for like a 2-week straight situation? You don't want anything freezing and busting inside your concrete.
They said not in Texas. I think the TX is thanks.
Is what?
Thanks. TX is thanks.
Oh, I said it was Texas.
Texas. So where are you? Yeah.
Yeah,
but just
where are they?
On the benefit of insulation on the outside.
Yeah. I'm a real big fan. I'm living in a home that survived a major 150-foot fire wall that literally came down because I did some added precautions. And that 1.5 inches of mineral wool, rigid, high dense mineral wool, was the deciding factor. And it adds structural integrity to the home and all that. So yeah, I just love that approach.
They are in Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia.
West Virginia. It's going to add a lot to you because of your colder climate. that additional, you get some north, you're in the West Virginia. Then it wouldn't be bad. If you're closer to the coast, then you get those northeasters, but you still get the really cold winters. That additional R value is going to be great. If you have high winds in your area, it's going to soften the wind and as well. So I just love putting insulation on the outside of a home. So do it if you can afford it.
Let's see. David was saying, okay, let's see. Here we go. This kind of goes along with it.
David Parker, fireproofing seems more important than thermal efficiency, though I love a lot of thermal. Yeah. You're going to find it. I think that mineral wool is probably one of the best products for building out there for those that are building with traditional stick built. If you're not building with stick built, it could be CMU, Omniblock, or Fast Wall, or whatever any products that are out there, your ICF, then it's a different story. But if you're still with stick built, it just adds an incredible amount of value to the home. And if I didn't live through a fire, I'd probably be talking differently. But because I lived through a fire, and my wife can tell you, homes to this side and homes to this side and homes behind us, they all burnt down. And so we did it right, and we just talk up.
Homes. Yep,
13 homes.
Two cul-de-sacs and then a few across the street.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yep. So what about rain screens? That was the second part of the question.
Rain screens, that's a really interesting question. That could be a simple product. That could be a dimple mat that you staple to your house, and then you put your shiplap or whatever siding you're going to put on, even if it's stucco or brick. It could be a simple dimple mat, or it could be, they have a new product. It's a 2-inch rigid mineral wool that is called rain screen. It's called, and I think it's called from Corning. Corning makes this product, and it's like, it can be super thick, 3 inches thick if you want. They call it rain screen. But I actually put a lath product to it. It means I staple a wire mesh to it, and I stuck it right on it. Now that's better than polyiso foam. In some places they don't do polyiso foam; they just do the wire mesh. But I just put the rock and everything right to that product because it's got all that fibrous material. And additional fibrous material allows for the gray coat of cement to squish in there and lock in and bind to it. It's pretty cool. The solid coating of a closed cell polyiso foam, it doesn't allow for that. I've seen stucco where we're remodeling a home and we're taking out the wire mesh, and when you take out the wire mesh, it all falls away from the polyiso foam. There's some spots where it will stick to it, but not much. It literally will fall away. So you have this stucco that's freestanding, basically, kind of wired in there. You got this insulation mat that there's no bonding to each other. Well, the mineral wool allows for that bonding. It's pretty cool. So I'm talking up a storm on mineral wool tonight. Blinker Fluid 4000. Interesting. I did an analysis on zip versus OSB. It was cheaper with OSB with a good sheathing. Yep. Yeah. And why not just save the money and put it somewhere else, or just, get into a home a little more affordably. All right. Now it's, the zip sheeting, I do like it on the roofs for some applications, which we can talk about later on. Do you think zip OSB roofing is worth the money? There we go. There's the question. If you were building in a high altitude climate where there's a lot of snow, and your framing is going to happen right up against the snowstorm, and you say, I'm going to order zip, we'll get the tape, we'll get it up there. As you guys are sheeting, please put the Sika tape on there, get it all done, and it's dried in that fast. And that's worth it, because that could sit up there considerably for a long period of time while you're getting other things ready and done. You wouldn't even need to do any dry in. You could actually save money on the dry in. I usually, in inclement weather climates, high altitude or just bad weather climates, I actually use all ice and water shield over the entire building because I want it dried in as quick as I possibly can. And a lot of people, there's a home just down the street here being framed. The roof has been exposed now for 2.5 weeks, and we've had 2 rainstorms. and all that gets in, rusts the nails, and does a number on the frame structure. There's no reason to leave it exposed like that. And zip sheeting is great for that particular element. If you're pressed and you can't get roofers there and they're so far out, or you're doing it yourself, you want to weigh the cost to find out what the savings would be, or what the additional cost would be. But I've done that before. But my roofers are pretty quick. They get on a job really, really fast. But if you have a big building that's 7,000 square feet, and you've got probably 180 square of roofing to deal with, boy, the zip sheeting would be nice, because you do the garage first, they do the zip sheeting, they put the tape on it, done. They're getting it dried in as they frame the structure. Typically, you have to wait for the whole framing to be done before the roofers can come dried in. But if you're in a really, again, bad weather, the zip sheeting is a really good product for that. That's the only place I would use zip sheeting, is on the roof.
Okay, we're all caught up now. So
and just as another side note, when it comes to roofing, a lot of, I just drove by my son's housing complex. They put a new roof on. It's the same exact tile roof. It's really, really ugly. But I could see the roof curving and bending like this. And they didn't even bother doing any repairs or fixes. On that whole structure, I would have put a whole new sheeting up there and taken care of some of those fixes. But they didn't. I think they got conned into something. And I know the roofer, and one of these days I'm going to talk to him about that. But when it comes to roofing, and if the product you put on your roof really kind of determines how you deal with your roof. And if I'm in a high wind area, I'll do hip roofs, but I'll do a thicker roof sheeting. What's the advantage of that? Well, the advantage of that is that typically trusses are 2 foot on center. And if you have a really 1932's really skinny, really thin roofing product up there, you're going to see this over time. It's going to do a number, because you're 2 foot on center. A wall is 16 inches on center, but roof trusses are typically 2 foot on center. So I don't like a really thin OSB up there. I like something with meat. On this home, I've got 1/2 inch. I think it's 1932's or whatever it is. It's very close to 1/2 inch. And so when the roofers were up there, I had no sagging. And then the additional plus is I have aluminum shingle on my roof. I also have standing seam in a couple of areas. That screw that's going in, that nail that's going in, that ribbed nail, it now has more meat to bite into. So it actually gives a better strength in high winds. So again, roof sheeting is something a lot of people never consider going thicker on. But don't hold out on that. If you have some high wind areas, you're going to, and if you have a shallow roof and it's very thin, typically like most people do, you're going to feel it. You're going to hear it like that. So give that a thought, give that a consideration, and don't try to go cheap on that, especially if you have I have a high snow load. So that additional support can hold up to, the trusses can hold 3 or 4 feet of snow, but I'm not going to have any sagging. So it's a big issue. Drive through town communities and start looking at roofs. In the winter time, if you want to find out how inefficient a home is, all right, after a snowstorm has been on the roofs for a couple of hours, look at the roofs, just like 2 inches of snow, maybe 1.5 inches. You'll start to see areas where it's already melted and areas where it's not melting. That's where you're leaking heat in the home. You can learn a lot in the colder climates because they reveal energy inefficiency very, very quickly. If you get a frost that comes down over a night, wake up the next morning and drive through your community and you just see the homes that got some problems. Take some questions here. Okay, this is from David Parker, 2173. China seems to be way ahead of our SIP technology, whereas I see MGO paneling sandwiching basalt wool, although I would not know how high their quality could be. Yeah, China wants to do everything in a manufactured warehouse. They want to pre-design it, pre-package it, and then ship it out. So the SIPs really fit with their technology. They want to control all their labor and not have so much labor cost. So I can see that. I just don't know the quality of some of the products. There was a year There was a time when I know some builders were buying drywall from China, and it was bad because it had mold and all kinds of garbage in it. People were getting sick, and there was a lot of lawsuits because people were going after a cheap product, and they thought that, oh, drywall is drywall. No, it's not. You never know what and how things are manufactured. So be wary of that.
And this is another comment from it.
Okay. I doubt I could trust China's CNC machining and could only trust American proven industries. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. Leanne C19. When do you think rising diesel prices will start affecting building material costs? That's typically a month to 2.5 months out. And again, I always follow the barrel of oil and also diesel. But back in the day, 20 years ago, diesel was much cheaper than regular unleaded gas. So we never really watched that too much. We just watched a barrel of oil. What were the future oil costs and what are they currently? Now diesel's what, 60 cents more than unleaded gas, and so that can get to be an issue. But just look at the futures of oil, and that should tell you if it spikes really. If a barrel of oil goes over $120 a barrel, we've got a really bad problem. If it goes to $150 a barrel, that's shutting down a lot of enterprise. So just keep that out. I don't know what the price of oil is right now.
I have some good news, honey. I've heard from a lender that there's talk of the interest rates dropping in September.
Yeah, right now oil is $93 to $83 a barrel. So yeah, it's they try to keep it down to a certain size, a certain amount. But yeah, I watch that right now. As long as it stays, hovering around $90, that's not too bad. But I've heard from a lot of financial experts that it gets to 120, it gets to have a lot of pressure, and if it's sustained over a period of time, it works its through the market. If it goes up like this and it comes down, it doesn't have much of an impact. It has to be sustained over a period of time. And luckily, most of America is energy independent. Most of America is. The only place that is not is some coastal areas of California where they have big tankers come in and they have refineries right on the coast there. Well, they only do that for efficiency. Otherwise, they would get it some other place. And can you imagine an oil pipeline coming from some other place through the deserts of California and into California, and all the political headache that, no, we don't want a pipeline in our state. But it's okay to have oil tankers come into LA Harbor, right, and unload it right there at the refineries. So they could be energy independent, but they're not. Sorry about the delay there. Okay. This is from Honey Caffeine. Hey, honey. What do you think of cooling tubes, especially in high humid areas? Cooling tubes. Is this for the floor system? I'm assuming it's for a floor system. The only problem is that, like you said, the high humidity areas, and you can have what's called a cold condensing surface. Anytime you could have the possibility of a cold condensing surface, you've got a problem. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you have an outlet here, right? And you have an outlet on the outside of the house over here. And then the power comes from inside the house to that outside outlet. Now, let's say, for example, that heat chases cold and it's hot outside, but it's cold on the inside because you're using the thermostat at 68 degrees. Well, if there's air movement through that wall, through that outlet, and into the wall structure, and it wants to grab a hold of that wire somehow, that wire acts as a cold condensing surface. And that's like a pitcher in the daytime, an ice pitcher of lemonade. In the afternoon on a sunny day, it's going to start to coalesce water around it. When that happens, you start dripping water down into the framing structure, and that's when you have a problem. So cooling tubes, the tubes are cool, so that's going to, again, heat chases cold. So it's going to want to go after those tubes. I don't care if they're plastic, PVC, or copper. I don't care. It's going to have a cold surface where moisture is going to want to attract to it. Think of cold like a dry napkin, okay? A dry napkin. If you take that napkin and you put it in a steel bucket of water, that water is going to immediately, it's like the second law of thermodynamics. Dry, it's just going to want to soak up into it. Cold is that thing. It sucks in heat. Heat chases cold. When you open up the door in the wintertime, it's not the cold air coming in, it's the heat chasing the cold. Okay. Think of it that way. And so that's a risky thing just based on the science alone. It's something I would not want to risk, especially in a high humid environment. This was like in Florida, on the East Coast, anywhere along that place where it's humid. It's not a good idea. It's just the science alone is a worrisome thing for me. Thank you. Yes. Our build is in Toronto, Alley of Michigan, much less than Texas or Oklahoma, but we can still get wind damage. Yeah.
That was for the roof. But yeah, so that's where she's at. And then these are just some comments.
Okay. America is currently working on becoming the world's energy center, taking it way away from the Middle East, though it is still being developed. Once established, it will help, but it is still developing. Yeah. We just found out that under the ground in Colorado and Utah and parts of Idaho, I believe, there's trillions of barrels of oil, enough to do just some serious damage over hundreds of years. Even on the north slope of Alaska, there's the reserve up there is pretty huge. We have a lot of oil. In fact, we don't even disclose what we have. We just go buy it elsewhere. So eventually it gets all used up. So we're pretty much energy independent. Now you wouldn't want to be in Spain or Italy or France or the UK or these places have to, even Japan, they all have to import their oil. And so they struggle with inflation. They don't have a way to control energy, and energy is a very strong barometer for cost of materials. So this is from Leanne, trying to figure out the best way to run HVAC ductwork, deciding on just having the ductwork below the floor joists and try to make it look architecturally like beams or coffered ceiling. Thoughts? Really interesting question. It's going to be hard to do it into a coffered situation or even to full beam structures, because the smallest HVAC duct is around 6 inches, and they go from 6 to 8 to 9, 12, etc. like that. Once you get to about a 12-inch duct, it's really hard to hide that in a faux beam, right? So you may end up having to drop the ceiling or run it through some other means. I'm going to be doing a post on how big your HVAC rooms or your mechanical rooms should be, and I'm going to include in that the biggest frustration homeowners have during the course of the framing structure is when the mechanical comes in and does their number. They can run ductwork any which way they want, and they can destroy architectural design like that. And you weren't even planning for it. I've had 2 or 3 homes that I built where we had a massive open living space, vaulted like this, living space on this side, living space on that side. And then one mechanical room's over here. And how am I going to get forced air over there? Well, on 2 of them, I went right underground. The other one, we had to do some jury rigging to make it work. So it depends on, like you said here, running HVAC, deciding on just having the ductwork below the floor joist. If you have engineered floor trusses, yes, if that's the floor. But if you didn't have engineered floor joists and you're using TGIs, which is solid OSB with some T's on the top and some supports, then you're limited on how big you can cut that hole. So I don't know. I wish I could give you some more answers to that. If I saw the plans, I could give some feedback on it. But keep in mind, a lot of people are going with an open living concept. Some rooms over here, some rooms over here, open living, and it's vaulted. And when you do that, it's really hard to get a forced air system from one side to the other. You have to think through that and how best you can do that. And a lot of times the framing structure with an open vaulted, you're dealing with a scissor truss. And what's a scissor truss? It's trusses that are like this, and they get really skinny towards the end of the walls, and it's really, really hard to fit a ventilation system inside them. And that ventilation system is right up against the roof. It's not buried in 18, 24 inches of insulation. It's right up against the roof. So when you turn that heat on or turn the cooling on in the hot of a summer, you're going to feel that hot air for a few minutes until the ductwork starts to get cooled down. So again, a lot of things to think about when you're talking about getting forced air through your home.
That's it for now.
Okay. I wanted to talk just a little bit as we get some other people that want to have some questions on is the possibility for inflation. All right. And I'm not an investment advisor, but I just want people to be aware of that. And it's a really big issue. This is greater than watching the price of oil go up and down, because everybody knows that affects delivery costs and manufacturing costs. That's a big, big thing. But what people are not aware of is the devaluing of our currency. Your dollar is buying less and less. I mean, I remember back in the day, I could buy a stud for $1.89, a 2x4 stud, 89 inches long, for $1.89. We're now approaching $4. You know, I just bought a 2x6 today for $7.69. All right, a single 2x6 stud, 8 feet long. And so that's inflation. And I've been in the trade now full time, really 15, 20 years or so. But that spike really has taken place in the last, few years, 7 or 8 years. And that's not because of oil going up and down, because although gas prices are up, it's really about the dollar losing its purchasing power. And so I want everyone to be aware of that I know a lot of people, like I talked to a woman, she's a close friend of mine. She had some money in the bank and she's dumping it into her home. She's putting deck on, getting a lot of things. She lost her husband and she's doing a lot of improvements on the home. And I said, why are you doing that? She goes, because I'm losing value of letting it sit in the bank. And she doesn't know if she'll sell it, but she's doing all the final improvements that they never were able to get to when her husband was alive. And she's putting the value in the home. Now, I'm not saying do that. What I'm saying is that it's going to be more costly later. And so when I was young, interest rates, when you put them in money in the bank, what was it, honey? 2, 3, 4, 5%. It was a higher interest rate. Put money in the bank and you'd get a better return. Now you get very little. And there's some places in Europe where they have 0 interest rates. They don't want you saving money. So your home is a kind of a savings place in a way. Sometimes it's if you weigh it for yourself, look at your finances, say to yourself, what should I do now, and should I move forward? And I'm all of the opinion that if you know you're going to do it, you have to build, you have to improve. Mom's moving in, you've got to make that addition, whatever it may be. If you know you have to do that to make life sustainable for you and your family, sooner than later is better. Just get moving on it. And if you get moving on it, you make one step toward the next step. I'm watching my son. He's getting ready to build a commercial building, and he's smart. He's just making a step. Got some land. He's chunking that away, getting that paid off. He's now getting some design work done. He's moving forward to that. And he says, Dad, can we start some dirt work? I go, no, not on commercial. I need to get a permit first because I have to have a desk permit. I have to have a commercial permit. I have to have a lot of things. Plus it's in a zone where there's a lot of traffic. So it's that eagerness is good to have. And I learned something about patience lately. Patience is excitement for something to come. Right? Yeah, that's what patience is. It's not the wrong notion of patience is irritability. I can't wait for this. This is taking too long. They think and they think patience is just letting it happen. No, patience is being actively exercising something good. It's actually doing something you're excited to see happen. And what happens is the need for patience is not recognized. You don't even need it because you're actively doing something. And so there's that connotation of patience that turns to impatience. And impatience is when you're not doing anything, nobody else is doing anything, no activity is happening, and you get irritated. And I always try to push people in the direction of greater patience rather than impatience. And patience is the actual substance of work that's being done. Oh, I'm happy, and that something's moving forward, and that's all on you. All right, being patient is all on you, and impatience is all on you too. So if you don't want to feel impatience, get actively engaged and move forward, make something happen, and you'll be better off for it. And to be honest with you, I've talked with a lot of builders and developers. They see patience in a unique way. I'm going to buy land. I'm going to clean it up. Then I could sell it. I'm going to buy land. I'm going to clean it up. Then I'm going to get a plat approved with the county or city, and then I can sell it for more because I did all that work. Or I'm going to buy it, clean it up, to do some final plat approval. Then I'm going to develop the land, add some improvements to land. Then I could sell it. Or I'm going to do all that, but plus I'm going to build something on it. See, developers think in those terms. They think in I could exit here, 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 or there. That's why they're developers. And so their nature for patience is a lot better than most people's are. Whereas some people think, oh, I have to do this and this and this before I can experience the sell or exit or the completion of something, then they get impatient. So study people in your life and say, well, that person's exuding a lot of patience. I wonder why. Because they're excited, they're actively engaged. And if they're not actively engaged, they're not very patient, they're impatient. I should write a book on that one. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun one to do. Okay, this is from Leanne. I was considering floor trusses. The current plans are 2x10s, but I was trying to make it work. 10-foot ceilings. The current plans for floor trusses, I wouldn't use the 2x10s on the floor trusses. Unless you have 3 feet of a crawl space underneath. And I don't know if you have a crawl space on that. If you have enough space, then you can, but all that HVAC system has to drop below those 2x10s. You can only drill a small hole in a 2x10, and it typically has to be dead center in the 2x10. You can't, they may not even allow you to drill the 3+ inch holes for the sewer system. You're probably going to have to drop all of the sewer and all of the mechanical underneath that whole system. It's a slab. So we're talking about probably the roof structure. I was kidding. Floor trusses. The current plans are 2x. Go to the next one. 10-foot ceilings.
It's a slab. Those are her 2 things.
So she's probably talking about the roof 2x10s, if I'm correct.
Or yeah, because she has 10-foot ceilings, and we were talking about the different kind of trusses.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the 10-foot or the 2x10s are for. If that's for the floor,
she was talking about HVAC.
Trying to HVAC. Yep, just having the ductwork below the floor joist, but that's what I didn't know, below the floor joist, but it's a slab on grade. So I'm assuming because it's a 2-story, and you're talking about the floor joist on the second floor. So 2x10s might be it. So she'll get back with us on that. There's one up here we missed.
10 right here. 2x10s are the floor.
But she said it was a slab. Is that the second floor? It's the second floor. If that's the second floor, and I can see why you're using 2x10s, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a real hard time running pipe, plumbing, and everything into those 2x4s, 2x10s. If you can do an engineered floor truss, it's going to be stable, stronger, and your mechanical is going to fit all into it. So see what the cost would be to do that and find out. And you're going to get 3.5 inches to put that subfloor on rather than 1.5 inches. So your framers are going to love you, and it's going to be a stronger floor on the top. So find out about that. A lot of framers did the 2x10s, 2x12s, all that kind of stuff. But more and more of them have just pulled away from that because they just get the engineered floor trusses, and they're straight and they're level and they're plumb. Those 2x10s, they could curve this way or that way. And you look at it, every one of them has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, you'll get a crown on top of them, and you could have some challenges with flooring down the road. So dimensional wood is not as effective as an engineered floor truss or floor joist. Okay. Any reason to upgrade to CDX plywood over OSB for roof deck? We'll be using a really high quality self-adhered membrane and Permalock shingles. I would probably just beef up the OSB rather than the CDX plywood. And it depends on plywood has a tendency to swell. And when they put the nails into the plywood, it goes down a little too deep sometimes. And then the wood just kind of bends up sometimes. And it's almost like the edge of a plywood is somewhat weaker than OSB with interlocking flakes of wood like that. When a nail goes through it, it just sits nicer on the sheeting. But I would stay with the OSB, especially with the aluminum shingle roof. And if you do have a snow load, go with a little thicker sheeting, maybe a 1/2 inch or just what is it, 5/8? I think it's 5/8, something like that, close to 1/2 an inch, and then you'll be really strong. And when they put the aluminum shingle nail in, that nail is ribbed. So when it goes into the sheeting, it goes and it locks in. And so it actually helps hold down the sheeting. It's not like a shank nail that's nice and smooth. It's got ribs on it. And so if you have a little thicker sheeting, it's going to really lock in that aluminum shingle roof much better. David Parker. You can run a lot of stuff of floor trusses like pipes and wires. You can run everything. And what they do is some of the in the floor joist and engineered floor truss or floor joist, there's some angle pieces where there's open. And then they actually frame out, and it could be 12 inches or 10 inches by 16 inches. It's a square box like that. And you can run a lot of your forced air system right through that. And they typically design those so that it's right down the middle of the home. So you run your trunk line down through that. Don't have to drop it below the ceiling. They run it right through that, and then you can tee off from that to go to your 6 or 9 inch ancillary lines. So I'm just a big fan of them, engineered floor trusses. So.
Oh, here's her comment.
Yeah, I wanted floor trusses originally, but the engineer mentioned the cost and she changed it to dimensional lumber. It was 2x12s originally, and don't know why he changed it to 2x10s. Yeah, I don't either. Just take your plans and run them to a truss plant, because you're going to get the truss plant to build your roof trusses anyway, right? So they can typically deliver them all at once and ask them what it would cost to do 10-inch floor joists. And then you've solved all your problems for your mechanical. Just run the numbers on that. I don't think it would be too much, but it would sure solve a lot of the problem. And you also have to think about the build out after the fact, meaning if they run all that ductwork below, what's it going to cost in lumber and material and labor to just box out all that anyway? So just run all that money right into floor joists. So.
Oh, she said, I did get contact with the plan. They told me they needed the engineer plans first.
No, they don't. They don't. Just tell them that I want floor joists the same height as the 2x10s in the exact same spot as the 2x10s. They don't need engineering for that. Just ask a price for it, because it's going to be stronger than the 2x10s anyway, and straighter and more flush. And if they need an engineer, don't have your engineer redraft the plans. Say, can you just give me a letter that we're going to swap in engineered floor joists instead of your 2x10s? And if you can do that, that'd be great. But just find out what the cost is first. They don't just tell them replace all the 2x10s with floor joists, same height. See where they go. See what they do. Do you hire a tile installer first, or do you do that through a tile store? Not through a store. You can do that separately. However, some stores will handle both for you. They will allow you to pick the tile, and then they'll pick the grout, sluter, pencil, trims, all that kind of stuff, and then they will install it for you. So just ask around. It's not a problem. With me as a builder, all of my tile is installed by my installer. And then the tile is then installed or purchased elsewhere, and then they deliver it to the job site. Why do I do that? Because I can control the quality a lot better. With
Yeah,
the
we
store, like my tile guy, just saw him about a couple hours ago. And I texted him, I says, hey, his name's Wilbur. I says, Wilbur, I'm going to be an hour late to the job site, but can you do something for me? And he said, what do you need? I go, I got another a remodel I'm doing. I don't do many of those. And I had a fireplace that was not level. Can you go over there with some thin set, some self-leveling thin set and level that fireplace? He did that. He did that in an hour and a half. And I got up, met him on a job site, and he has 7 bathrooms to do some backsplashes for. So I can't call, a store and say, hey, can you do this for me? No, I have to be able to work directly with the installers. In fact,
And
that's the way on everything. So,
and a good way to find a tile installer, you have a builder association near you, home builder association. You can look up tile people there. You can get recommendations from walking through other homes that are being built and talking to those tile people. So you can pick up good tile people.
Yeah. Just ask around and you should find someone. Heck 37. Okay. 2660 square foot home. Framer just quoted me $28K, inclusive of floor and roof trusses, sheathing, and windows installed. Thoughts, Timberlake, North Carolina. Give me 1 second and I can tell you what that is going to be. So 28,000 divided by 2,660. That is $10 a square foot. That's very good.
That's what I was thinking.
That's very good. In fact, that's probably the cheapest and most affordable I've ever seen in a long time. That was the numbers probably 10 years ago. And to include the windows, there must not be a lot of building in there, and their labor is hungry. This is a good example of what I'm talking about. Why now is a good time to build. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I can tell you this proves you right now there's not much building going on. If this was back in the high of the COVID era where everybody was building, it was crazy, interest rates were super low, that would have been almost another 10 to 15,000 more. So that's not a bad deal. And you can, and then on your budget, go ahead and add 10 grand on your budget. And then have that money to do some other stuff if you wanted to, if you could, insulation, stuff like that. So, no, that's a very good deal. In California, that's ranging $32 a square foot. Park City, high, tourist area, $35, $40 a square foot. In my area, it's around $14 to $15, $16 a square foot, right around that area. So you're $5 cheaper than my area, and I'm in a very affordable area for labor-wise. So. No, that's a good price. This is from David Parker. Sometimes you can save money by spending more up front. Yes, especially you can save over the long haul. And this is where a lot of people just don't get it. And they're temporary. I know people and friends and family and all kinds of people I know, they'll always do something temporary. And that temporary, like a gentleman down the street built a fence. And he's been out there, fixing it already. And a lot of the wood's curving and he had to take off some wood and replace it. It's very temporary. And then he cemented into the ground 4x4 posts. If you can imagine that, cemented into the ground, 4x4 posts. And even though they're treated, they're going to rot pretty quickly. And I'm putting in a fence. It's taking me a little more time, but it's all galvanized metal. All of it is galvanized metal. It's going to be in the ground for a very, very long time. And people, and if you've ever gone to this is kind of rare, but you go to a commercial building or some residential building or something, and it's very, very old. Okay. Ask yourself, why is it still standing? Why does it still look good? Ask yourself that question. This is something you have to study and be aware of over time. And you start picking up on that. Like I'm remodeling a job right now, and they had a little shed. This is a little example, but they had a little shed roof covering the HVAC unit, and it was like rickety. So when we redid the siding, we just pulled it off because it was so bad. And there was 2 posts going into the ground, and those posts, after we took the roof off, they were just rotted. I could literally take it out of the ground like that because they put not even cedar, not even redwood, just regular, dimensional lumber, regular wood off the shelf, Douglas fir, something like that. So what are we doing? We're going to rebuild it, but we're putting concrete piers out there, and they have straps on them. So we'll put new 4x4 posts, put those piers down, put them a little bit of gravel, and then redo that deck. And that's going to be there forever. It's not going to go anywhere. That's what I'm talking about. This is answering that question. Sometimes you can save money by spending more up front. And that's exactly my point. And owner builders, I've seen 2 types. Super cheap. They want to see how much they can save. They don't care. This is the end. I just want to get in as cheap as I can, and I want to save money. That's their whole mentality. The other owner builder is, I want to do this as best as I possibly can. I want to save money, but I want to put it back into the value of the home because this is my home. This is my creation. This is my art. And they have a greater care about it. Some care about the cost of money. Some care about the home that they're building. And a lot of people right now, and my wife can vouch for this, they're moving into the arena of a wellness environment. How well can they live in their home? Why don't you say something to that, honey?
Just that luxury is changing these days. What I've been seeing is luxury used to be big and granite and all these fancy things to make it fancy. Now people are wanting simple and elegant and craftsmanship of a home. But how am I going to live in this home? What's the air quality? What's the water source? Like those things to have my family live longer and to invite family or friends over so I have a community. And so it's not, there's still people that want the big home, but the ultra luxury are looking at quality and how am I going to live in this? And can I, what's my environment? Like here in Southern Utah, we have hiking and biking and national parks and things like that. So there's a lot to do outside, and our climate is just really nice. And that's what they're looking at. In fact, we just we're number 6 in the nation that we were just for being luxury. And I think there was another thing I was just reading about building. It was for office space, commercial. We're in the top 10 for commercial buildings. So, but think about how are you going to live in your home? Can you make good memories? And can you live long? People are going into gardens and just even herb garden in your kitchen window somewhere.
Everything from off-gassing to natural breathing, even wall greens, meaning not the store, but a wall with greens on it. So your house is a living environment. This is where a lot of people are moving into almost like a self-sustained home to some degree. So, and then that whole building structure, sound deadening quality, our value quality, the air energy efficiency quality, just so many things that you can do to a home to improve it. That's where people are looking about. And I've seen very high-end builders build just like they would build a tract home, all right? And the exact same thing that you see in a tract home, you'll see in a very high-end luxury home. They just paint it, put different lipstick on it, different granite stuff on the inside. But the actual technology, the actual value of the home is the same exact stuff. And this is where people are realizing, I don't want that. I don't want that off-gassing quality. I don't want that insulation you're doing. And I want something better. I want a natural environment. I want, they're pushing the envelope on what's considered luxury or high-end or just really, really custom built designs. And so there's a lot of owner builders that are actually better informed on the value of products that are out there than a lot of builders. Most builders are completely unaware. Why? They don't research. They go to supply houses. They just order what the supply houses give them, because when you go to a supply house, do you see any alternate technologies there? No, you don't, because they've already got contracts with other products that they're going to sell there. So that's why owner builders are going outside the envelope, looking at the different research, reading and watching posts like this, hearing what's out there, and then they're pushing the envelope. And eventually it gets worked down. And now you'll see a lot of luxury builds, because these high-end net worth people, they're saying, why don't you building? I just saw this online. I saw this on, I've got clients like that are research driven, and they will tell me about something, and then they'll push the envelope for me. And then I go out and apply that to my forte. So you're seeing because of internet and social media, this promoting new technologies, it's waking up the entire arena of what's considered custom, semi-luxury, high-end luxury, whatever you want to call it. And now it's the new thing is called wellness or well-being. And that's right over the top of what you would consider luxury. So, and that's the quality of the build, air quality, sound quality, all the lighting quality, even lighting that actually mimics the natural lighting during the course of the day. I forget the name of it.
Yes.
There's special name. Circadian
rhythm. Yes.
Rhythm lighting. So that you're living in almost in a natural environment light, where it's changing, the lighting in the home is changing as the day progresses. It's that sophisticated. That's what I'm telling you. Even to the point where when you go to bed, the
dark skies.
The dark skies. I mean, it's dark. There's blinds that come down, and you have no light coming in at all, none whatsoever.
Oh, and then saunas and plunge, ice baths. Those are the big
cold baths. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And how is the kitchen? How can I have? How can we eat healthier in the kitchen? And so it looks like we're running out of time. So just quick shout out, the Mall Pearl. Okay.
There we go. They use fiberglass rebar on our porches and garages. Now, what's interesting is Western Washington, you've got some cold areas right there, not humidity, but cold. Now, fiberglass rebar is really, really cool stuff. Concrete absorbs moisture, okay? If your rebar is not at least 2 inches inside the concrete and it's close to the outside and there's moisture there, it can work in and start rusting that rebar. That fiberglass helps with an additional defense against that. But with fiberglass rebar, there's no rust at all. That concrete is going to be there forever and a day. China used to use bamboo as a rebar. Well, after about 30 years and 40 years, a lot of the bridges started to collapse, and they didn't know why. They dug into them and found out that the bamboo was rotting, because again, moisture gets inside that concrete. So I've been always wanting to use fiberglass. It's hard. It doesn't bend as well without heat to bend it. So a lot of guys haven't wanted to use it, but I've been wanting to use it for a long time. I'm so glad an owner builder is using it. That's exciting.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go visit them. Okay, we're gonna have to come up and visit you. Oh, we are. Oh, I need to email you. I'm gonna email you. Okay, here's one more. David Parker. I just have to tell you, David, I don't know what's going on with my computer. Come on. There we go. You're making me laugh today.
I do crossword puzzles, so I keep trying to design the perfect home with quality and economy concepts. I like running into a lot of walls, pun intended. Okay, there we go.
You are great. Thanks for being here, man. All your comments make me smile. And okay, Doug has the last comment of the day.
I'm a fan of using AI for construction questions. Copilot has helped me tremendously. Yes, it's been very, very helpful researching technologies, products, and you're going to see AI explode pretty quickly here.
Mm-hmm. But always double check too.
And the
Okay.
last question there, we'll take this last question. We'll head out.
Going by David.
I heard fiberglass is superior, but you still need the steel to join cement to a new cement. I heard. Yes, you do. You'll have like your straps, your hold downs, J bolts, all that. They're all going to be metal anyway. But the actual rebar inside the footing and inside the foundation, that can all be fiberglass. And talk with your engineers and tell them, hey, I want to use fiberglass. Look at the specifications on fiberglass to see if it's a certain grade or certain thickness you need, and they'll be just fine.
Okay.
And then we'll take this one last question.
Yeah, sorry, Leanne.
So because the trusses would be a minimum of 12 inches, as they do, because that 2x4 takes up space. And the current plans use the 2x10s. They can still do it without the engineer. There you go. They should be able to.
No, that's a question. That's a question. Can they still do it without the engineer?
They should be able to. And if all you need is a letter saying from the engineer, yes, the 12-inch high will be just fine with engineered floor trusses, and it should be fine. You just don't want to have to pay for the extra cost to the engineer to redraft the plans. Just see if they can just draft a letter and get that approval. But talk to the truss plant and tell them, hey, just do it anyway. Give me the bid. And say the engineer says, okay, you go ahead and do it. Just see what the cost is first. That's what you want to do. Okay. Okay, we're done there. How we want to forward just a little bit there.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys take care. We'll be here next Thursday, like every week from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Go to how to build your own home on the search engines. Just type it in and give us a comment, give some feedback. That'd be great. Give us thumbs up, all that kind of stuff, and share and spread the word to everybody. We like to help as many people as we can. Until then, we'll see you guys next week from 5 to 6 p.m. every Thursday. You guys take care.
Yeah.